is going on, everyone, and welcome to Kart 6T3. My name is Ben. Thank you very much for stopping by, and we're gonna go first with this. I'm sorry, all right. I'm just gonna do it like a band-aid, just gonna rip it off. If you didn't mind hitting a like on the video, please do so. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. It really supports the channel, and I can't speak today either. It really supports the channel, and I appreciate having you. So I had a brake failure of such. It was a combination of things that kind of went into just bad things happening. I went out to Turkey Trot. This was my downfall in the night's performance. I lost track time, and then I had to do an engine swap and blah, 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 excuse. I'll pull some excuses out of the bag and throw them into the air, and I did not as good as I had hoped. So this kind of came to the forefront, like, man, I haven't done a video on brakes yet, and there are probably some things that I'm gonna miss in today's video, but say you have brake issues, and I would like to address some of the adjustments that you can do. All right, so we are going to dive up close. I have a spare caliper here. I also have a Kart that I actually changed brake systems because I didn't know what was going on with the one. It seems to be fine. I went ahead and I got there was some air in the lines, which wasn't good, but I'm not quite sure where that came from. The brakes have always been pretty good. Now, I notoriously don't run a lot of brake. With an open, you need them, don't get me wrong. You should always have enough brake to stop, how much horsepower you have. And if I really grabbed them, I definitely had enough brake to stop the cart. That's not what I'm talking about. I have my brakes set up to where there's a lot of pedal before it's a feel thing for me. So when I go into the corner, I don't want tons of brake right away. It makes the cart jump on me, especially in open. I'm not quite sure, I don't think that, running Predator or Clone, you probably maybe you use it. I don't know. I guess I don't know. I'm making the assumption because you're lower horsepower, you don't use the brakes as much, but I'm sure in traffic that is a thing. But when I'm driving my open, I'm either, trail braking a little bit, getting in the corner. Usually it's a trail brake coming off the corner, but I don't want them to grab super hard right away. It's probably something I should adjust to. I should make them, be, pretty strong, and then just, meter my left foot a little bit more. But I like a little more feel in there to where I have to, get my foot further out there, and I can just gauge how much brake I'm giving it, calm the rear end down. With an open, we have so much horsepower, it has a tendency to break free, but I'll stand on the gas coming out the corner and dance on the brake a little bit in order to, calm the rear end so it doesn't blow loose as bad. So anyway, I usually have them set up like that, but when I went out for practice, that last race there, I went singing in the corner and my foot went right to the floor and there was nothing. I had a brake issue prior to that, and I guess I could kind of explain it when I go up close. Now, first and foremost, I have bigger brakes. These are going to look a lot different than your brakes, but they're in the big brakes. These are C-high performance brakes, so there is a steel on the outside, and then an aluminum center piece to keep the brakes nice and cool for the amount of horsepower that we have. We need bigger brakes per UAS rules. We have to have them, but it's all vented. It's very nice stuff. But the outside steel, that is what you guys run. Now you might run a mini light, but it'll be the 7.1 inch version of that. You just take the outside, the caliper comes in, everything's the same except for I have a spacer and I have a bigger rotor. But the function is the same. So when we dive up close, we'll talk about a little bit. We'll talk about a little bit of adjustment and things like that. And if you're having problems with brakes, how to adjust them, say at track or at home. So let's see. Give me a second here. I got to get some things set up. I have a caliper over here. I have a cart there. But I think I need to get some lighting to see what's going on, to show you what I'm talking about. Anyway, you'll see here in a second. All right. Okay, everybody, here we are, dove up close again. I actually found this caliper out in my parts and everything, and it worked out well because as you'll see when we go up close on my cart, if you've seen before, I have dual line feed calipers, and this is a single line feed caliper set. So I believe this comes on more modern carts. Whatever the MCP makes these. Maybe I could be wrong. Maybe they do dual line again. I'm not quite sure. I know that they went to these at one point in time, and I happen to have one. So difference is that mine has this. Will be over here. This is just chopped off, but I would have two brake lines. One services one side, one services the other side. Both have fluid to them, blah, blah, blah. Well, the difference in these is being a single line. This actually has a transfer port. We're going to buzz this apart real quick. These have transfer areas here. They have O-rings in them that go from one side to the other, so it actually, with the fluid coming in one side, it would come across in these transfer ports and then cause this to work as well. So, pretty cool design. I like it. Not most ideal for when you're running bigger brakes. I believe two lines is better than one when you're running the big brakes like I do for the big horsepower stuff. But I thought I'd give you a peek inside there real quick. We'll just run that one in. So, what I wanted to show you on this is, here are your brake pads. Now, your brake pads, well, let's take this back apart, because I was not thinking correctly there. And we'll take one half here. Now, to attach your brake pads, you're going to get a 3/16. So, you can, a standard Allen wrench is fine, but I happen to have a socket here. And inside here, this is a 1/4 inch. Inside here, you'll find that your 3/16 fits in there, and those actually loosen. Now, I was going to show you up front. Here I am leaking all over the place, and I got O-rings. Don't want to lose that. All right, so I'm going to show you on the other ones, but this is how you disassemble them. It is also how you adjust them. So there are I believe there's springs in between the actual brake pad. So there's springs in here that keeps tension on it, and it just merely, mounts to these two bolts here. Here's your cylinder. This pushes out. This pushes the brake pad this way. But these have tension on them. So when you go in and you tighten or loosen, you're going to reattach these. And like I said, I'm going to show you a demonstration of what actually happens. But all you do is tighten this up. Tighten this up. If you're ever wondering how to change your brake pads on these, that's it. There's just those two. Now I'm getting oil all over this. But just those two bolts, and that's how you change your brake pads on these. So let's take a peek on the cart, and I'll kind of give you, hopefully I can get the lighting to it. I think I can, to show you exactly what happens when you adjust them. Okay, everybody, I have my fan running, so if you hear that, I do apologize. This is what I was talking about my upgraded brakes, if you've ever paid attention. So, like I showed you before, that caliper, the single line is fine, and what it would have is just this outside, just the steel part of my entire rotor. We have a outside steel, and aluminum for cooling in here. Now, up here, you're going to be able to see, maybe I can zoom in while I'm recording. Oh, look at that. Fancy. Okay, this space right here, that is your pad. And you're going to want that pretty close to your rotor. So I have already kind of adjusted these, but we're going to adjust them. We'll probably take it out a little bit and then bring it back in. So the 3/16 I was talking about, we have this again. And the same thing, goes for this as that. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to draw it in a little bit. I think I am. Okay, sorry about that. I had to actually break these free. I forgot I adjusted the other set of calipers, not this set of calipers. All right, so we are still looking here. Right in here is your pad that you want in contact with your rotor. Now you're going to take your 3/16 again, and then you're coming into that hole on the side, and you're actually loosening the pad on those screws. So if you take up and you this would be counterclockwise, you see how that's getting closer and closer. And apparently somebody had told me once, was it, you should measure these in thousandths. I don't know about that. I would just get them fairly close. You don't want them rubbing, because there is a little bit of axle play there that when you go into the corner you shove over. But they should still spin free, not interfere. And I hear just a hair of that going on. So I'm going to drop just a little bit more, get it to ever so slightly, just touching. But I'm not quite sure what the recommended thousandths is. You can get some feeler gauges and put it in there. There's probably an actual, but I would just get them nice and fairly tight to the rotor, so when you go to step on the pedal, you got decent brake there. Okay, now on the other end here, now again, this is going to look different. This is, maybe it's a little harder for, me to, I won't say explain, but things don't look like they do on your kart if you're running something like, just a standard flat kart. If you're running Predator, if you're running Clone, if you're running KT100 and you have a small tank. I have my master cylinder shifted up here because of this. My two-stroke runs a lot of fuel. Sometimes we get a bunch of cautions in UAS. If you've ever seen one of our races, you do not want to run out of fuel. I don't want to run out of fuel. I carry almost 3 gallons on board. This is unnecessary for your typical kind of kart. But anyway, I can't have my master cylinder back here where they standard come. So I cut them off. I come up here. I build a bracket, and I mount them up, therefore shortening this rod, but the concept is the same. Another way to adjust your brakes would be with this rod. So I've gone ahead and I've already loosened that one. These are opposites. So I believe they're opposites, or are they the same? Anyway, if you just loosen here and twist this, the rod is actually going to travel just the same. I believe they're the same. They're the thread the same. They're standard thread. If you just rotate this, nothing is going to happen. The length inside this clevis here is going to decrease. The inside here is going to increase, or vice versa. It doesn't really matter. In order to get a length change, you will have to loosen those, but then you would have to take off whatever cotter key or safety clip like this is. I knew as soon as I went to do this. These little ones are a bear. They don't like to come off. I'm going to set that to the side. You can pull out your pin here, and then you can go ahead and adjust. Say if I wanted my pedal a little more that way, I'm extending this. Or if you wanted more, draw it back in type of scenario. And there's also different throws here on how much the input you're giving your master cylinder. So keep that in mind if you want it. These are all different feels and everything. The further away, bring it closer. This longer throw that's always where I typically run mine, but that's how you would adjust it. You're gonna pull this pin, and you're gonna go ahead and twist it one way or the other if you want to draw it in close, and move your pedal as such. You can get a stiffer or longer pedal. Put your pin back in. Put your safety pin in, and boom, there you got your brakes back. So there's another adjustment on your brakes. If things are feeling a little soft, you need to, adjust it so the pedal's gone too far, maybe you want to shorten this length here. Maybe you want to bring the pedal back to you so you have more pedal sooner. You know, even if you don't have adjustment in the back, you can always do that there. Or if you don't, something has gone wrong in your caliper, you can't get those adjustment screws, you can always come up here and maybe dial a little brake into it up front here. Just real quick here, I'll mention it. I'm eventually going to do a dedicated video on bleeding brakes, but I thought I'd mention it. Okay, so if you have a partner, this is easy. First off, if you don't have a tool, which most of us don't, I don't have a tool, the tool would actually go, I believe, onto the master cylinder. You would unscrew this. You'd put it's some form of pump or something like that. You put it on here, it would screw into there, and you would be able to bleed your brakes and get all the air bubbles out. You do not want air inside your brake lines. And as I mentioned here, I have the dual instead of the single because I have big brakes. I prefer that. I prefer more brake than less when I actually need it. But what you would do at track if you have two people is there are some screws on the back of your caliper that I showed you before. I believe they're 1/4-inch wrench. So what you're going to do up here is you're going to pump up the brakes. One person will pump up the brakes, then they'll hold it. One person will undo the line just ever so slightly, and that pressure that you're holding on this pedal is going to push fluid through and leak out there, or all the air is going to come out. Close that valve back there, and then you're going to pump it up again. Now, what I did with this system, because this system was the one I was having a little issue with, I took the whole brake system off. Like I said, the actual system that was on this scythe went onto the Recon because I wasn't quite sure what was going on. I just needed brakes for this upcoming race, and then I could take the time to figure out what was going on with this. There doesn't seem to be anything wrong. I can't find anything anyway. I don't see any leaks or anything like that. But what I did was I went and undid this clevis, just like I showed you. Took these two bolts out, all my tie wraps. I removed the master cylinder with everything attached and the caliper. And what I did was I hung the master cylinder up on a ladder and I let the calipers and the lines drape down below it. And then I unscrewed individual line and let it gravity feed and let all that fluid purge all the air out, tighten it back up, replace some fluid, make sure you're using, I have DOT5 in this. I believe the newer ones are DOT5, not DOT3. Keep that in mind. They should be labeled somewhere on the master cylinder that it is a DOT5 or 3 fluid. If it's older, it's probably 3. Newer stuff, I believe, is 5. It's a high performance, and mine is purple, if I'm not mistaken. But keep that filled up. Go ahead and crack the lines and let all that air out. It's really, really simple. If you take the time to go ahead and remove your master cylinder and your caliper and hold it up there, I just use a simple clamp to hold the master cylinder flat up top. I let it drape down and then unscrew those, let the air bleed out, refill the fluid when necessary. Now there's no air in my lines, good to go. Lots of brake pedal, everything seems to be working fine. You saw me adjust the rear. I think these brakes are good to go. Won't know until, I actually run this cart for certain, I guess. But everything that I know how to do has been done. So there you go, guys. I just thought I'd throw that in there real quick because I knew, I was probably going to get some questions. Hey, what about bleeding brakes? So I thought I'd throw that in there. If you have two people, it's a little easier to do. Or if it's just you, if you have the time, go ahead and take the whole brake system off. Don't break anything apart. Leave the calipers and the master cylinder attached. Do that gravity thing. Bleed them out yourself. Tighten everything up. Put them back on, and you should be good to go. Okay, there you go. That is at least the basics of adjusting some brakes. Like I said, it's not going to be everything, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that have different methods, different tools, different this and that. I'm running on just basics here. That's all I've ever done. As long as my brakes are there, as long as they will stop the cart, I'm good with them. I don't run anything special. I don't run anything, high performance or anything like that. It's just, with the exception of the C high performance rear rear brake rotor because you need that cooling. You don't want that thing overheating and giving you brake failure when you're running the kind of horsepower that I'm used to running. But it's kind of weird that I've let this escape me for as long without talking about brakes at all. They're very important. I know that the loud pedal's the one you want to go for, but brakes are very important. You do need to stop. Something happens in front of you, caution, red flag. You're just sing it down into the corner, and there happens to be a cart there. You're probably going to want some brakes, but I know it's, all joking aside, they're very important to racing, and everybody should have really good brakes. So please stay up on your maintenance on your brakes, which I'm not the greatest at. I'm guilty of this, and I have no problem admitting that. So, all right, guys, I really do appreciate you coming by, and we'll see you in the next video, probably Sunday, right? Always Sunday. Sunday, Thursday. Yeah, okay, gotcha. All right, later.